My name is Emily Logan. I'm 67 and I run a small consulting business in Denver, Colorado. The engagement party was perfect. Until my brother opened his mouth. Everyone, meet Emily, Ryan announces to 40 guests at the Colorado Lodge. Our family's biggest disappointment. The silence cuts like a knife. My parents don't defend me. They just watch, like someone finally said what they'd been thinking for years. But his boss, Richard Hale, doesn't laugh. He stares directly at me. Emily, he says slowly, testing my name. Emily Logan. I watch recognition flash across his eyes. Ryan, come see me tomorrow morning. The room shifts. Ryan's confidence cracks. What none of them knew was that 15 years ago, I saved Richard Hale's company from bankruptcy. For free. What they didn't know was that I paid for this entire party. $23,000 from my savings. A few days later, Richard came directly to my office. Instead of calling me to his, he chose to visit mine. It was a gesture of respect, perhaps remembering the help I'd given him years ago. Your brother has been stealing credit for other people's work, he said, spreading documents across my desk. He forged emails using your name. He's been charging personal expenses to company accounts. I stared at the evidence. My own name on emails I never sent. My reputation used to cover his fraud. The betrayal hid deeper than any public humiliation ever could. But that night at the party? The quiet finally ended. What happens when 15 years of invisible sacrifice suddenly becomes visible? If you're hearing this story, tell me in the comments. Where in the world are you listening from? Before we begin today's story, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Now let's see what happens when the truth finally comes to light. The mountain lodge sits heavy against the Colorado sky. Snow presses against tall windows. Inside, warm light spills across wooden floors. Emily Logan stands near the back wall. Her fingers grip a paper napkin. The fabric of her simple navy dress feels suddenly too tight. She watches her younger brother move through the crowd. Ryan Logan owns this room tonight. His engagement party. His moment. His boss stands nearby, silver hair catching the light. Richard Hale wears a tailored suit that costs more than Emily's monthly rent. Emily. Ryan's voice cuts through the chatter. He reaches for her elbow. His grip is firm. Too firm. Come here. She follows because she always does. The room grows quiet. Conversations pause. Eyes turn toward them. This is my sister Emily. Ryan's smile stretches wide. Our family's failure. The words hit like a physical blow. Emily's breath catches. The napkin tears between her fingers. A woman near the fireplace coughs. Someone sets down a glass too hard. The sound echoes. She never really amounted to much, Ryan continues. His tone stays light, casual, as if discussing the weather. Emily's parents stand 10 feet away. Her mother smooths her cardigan. Again and again. Her father studies his shoes. Heat rises in Emily's cheeks. Her throat tightens. She wants to speak, to defend herself, but the words won't come. Richard Hale doesn't laugh. He studies Emily's face, then Ryan's. His expression remains neutral, professional. Ryan. Richard's voice is quiet. Come see me tomorrow morning. The room shifts. People exchange glances. Ryan's smile falters for just a moment. Of course, sir, Ryan says. His confidence returns quickly. Emily steps backward. Once. Twice. Her shoulder bumps the wall. She thinks about the contracts in her car. The vendor payments she made last week. The deposit she wired from her savings account. Ryan doesn't know. He never knows. Her thumb finds the Medicare card in her wallet. The plastic feels smooth, real, something solid to hold onto. I should go, she whispers. No one stops her. No one follows. Emily walks through the crowd. Past the expensive appetizers. Past the champagne glasses. Past the faces that won't meet her eyes. The front door opens with a soft click. Cold air hits her skin like a blessing. She fumbles with her car keys. Her hands shake slightly. The engine starts on the second try. In the rearview mirror, warm light still glows from the lodge windows. Laughter drifts out into the night. The party continues without her. It always does. Emily drives down the winding mountain road. Snow falls harder now. Her headlights cut through the darkness. She keeps her speed steady. Safe. At a red light, she closes her eyes. Just for a moment. The humiliation sits in her chest like a stone. But something else stirs too. A small, quiet voice she hasn't heard in years. Enough, it whispers. The light turns green. Emily drives home through the empty streets of Denver. She parks in her driveway and sits in silence. Tomorrow, she will open her laptop. She will review the vendor contracts. She will calculate the expenses. She will do what she always does. But tonight, something has changed. She can feel it in the way her breathing has steadied. In the way her hands have stopped shaking. Inside her house, Emily makes tea. She sits at her kitchen table. The pill organizer sits nearby, next to unpaid bills and a social security letter she hasn't opened. She thinks about Ryan's words. About her parents' silence. About Richard Hale's careful expression. Some wounds take time to heal. But some wounds teach you where you stand. Emily pulls the Medicare card from her wallet. She sets it on the table. Next to it, she places a business card. Her business card, Logan Consulting Services. 2 pieces of her life. 2 truths. She is not her brother's failure. She is not her family's shame. She is Emily Logan. And tomorrow, she will remember what that means. The snow continues to fall outside. But inside, Emily Logan begins to breathe again. Morning sunlight filters through Emily's kitchen window. She sits at her small wooden table. Her coffee has gone cold. Steam no longer rises from the white ceramic mug. The pill organizer sits open beside her. Monday through Sunday, each compartment filled with the medications that keep her steady, keep her functioning. Next to the organizer, utility bills wait in a neat stack. Electric company, gas company, water department, all yellow with final notice stamps. Emily's fingers trace the edge of an unopened envelope. Social Security Administration, official business. She sets it aside without breaking the seal. Her laptop screen glows soft blue in the morning light. Spreadsheet rows and columns fill the display. Numbers that tell a story no one else wants to hear. 3 weeks ago, Ryan called her at midnight. His voice cracked with panic. Emily, the caterer wants full payment up front. $20,000. They're threatening to cancel. She remembers holding the phone against her ear. Standing in her dark kitchen. Wearing the same pajamas she's had for 5 years. What about the contract? She asked. There is no contract. Just a handshake deal. I thought it would be fine. Emily closed her eyes. Send me their information. She spent the next 4 hours on her laptop. Reading vendor agreements. Finding penalty clauses. Drafting protection language. Her eyes burned from the screen light. At 4 in the morning, she called the caterer herself. This is Emily Logan. I represent the Logan Family Engagement event. She negotiated payment terms. Secured a written contract. Protected Ryan from a lawsuit he didn't even know was coming. The final invoice sits in front of her now. Logan Family Event Services. Paid in full. $23,400. Emily's personal checking account balance $847. Her business account fared better. Logan Consulting Services maintains steady cash flow. Small clients. Practical problems. Nothing glamorous, but enough to survive. The wall behind her desk displays her credentials. Certified public accountant. Business management certificate. Client testimonials in simple black frames. Emily saved our family restaurant. Maria Santos, Santos Kitchen. Professional, thorough, and honest. David Chen, Chen Auto Repair. She found errors that saved us thousands. Patricia Williams, Williams Real Estate. No one at last night's party knows about these testimonials. They've never visited her office. Never seen her work. Emily opens a manila folder labeled, Event Contracts. Inside, printed invoices tell the real story. Mountain Lodge Venue Rental $8,500. Paid by Emily Logan. Floral Arrangements $2,200. Paid by Emily Logan. Photography Services $1,800. Paid by Emily Logan. Sound System Rental $650. Paid by Emily Logan. She turns the pages slowly. Each receipt represents hours of research. Phone calls. Negotiations. Problem solving that Ryan never saw. Her phone buzzes against the wooden table. A text message from 3 days ago lights up the screen. Ryan, you're a lifesaver. Don't know what I'd do without you. No mention of repayment. No acknowledgement of the financial sacrifice. Just casual gratitude that expects nothing in return. Emily slides the phone face down beside the mortgage notice. Payment due in 12 days. $1,847. The house around her creaks with familiar sounds. Heating system turning on. Refrigerator humming. Old pipes settling in the walls. She bought this place 15 years ago. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen with outdated appliances that still work perfectly. The mortgage should have been paid off by now. Would have been, if not for the family emergencies. The unexpected expenses. The times when saying no felt impossible. Emily's laptop chimes with an email notification. A potential new client. Small business owner. Bookkeeping problems. The kind of work that pays her bills and keeps her independent. She reads the inquiry twice. Makes notes in the margins. Schedules a phone call for this afternoon. This is her real life. Not the family gatherings where she stands silent. Not the parties where she's introduced as the failure. This quiet office where she solves problems and builds solutions. The social security letter stares at her from across the table. Emily finally reaches for it. Tears the envelope along the perforated edge. Inside, her annual statement. Projected benefits. Working credits accumulated over decades of steady employment. The numbers look smaller than they should. Years of self-employment mean lower reported income. Lower benefits. But enough to survive. Emily folds the letter carefully. Places it in the folder with her other important documents. Next to her will. Next to her insurance policies. Next to the records that prove she exists. Outside her window, Denver awakens slowly. Cars pull out of driveways. Children wait at bus stops. The world continues its daily rhythm. Emily closes her laptop, rinses her coffee mug in the sink, returns the pill organizer to its place on the counter. In 2 hours, she'll drive to her office. Answer emails, return phone calls, help people solve problems they can't handle alone. But first, she sits in the morning quiet. Lets the sunlight warm her face. Reminds herself of a truth she sometimes forgets. Everything worked because she stayed invisible. Every party, every celebration, every family crisis that needed fixing. They succeeded because she solved their problems in silence. Emily Logan, the woman who makes things work. The sister who saves the day. The family member who asks for nothing and receives less. But this morning, sitting in her small kitchen with bills and bureaucracy surrounding her, Emily begins to wonder what would happen if she stopped. What would happen if the next midnight phone call went unanswered? If the next family crisis had to find its own solution? What would happen if Emily Logan finally became visible? The thought sits with her as she gathers her papers. As she prepares for another day of quiet competence. Another day of being essential and invisible. Some questions take time to answer. But some questions, once asked, refuse to disappear. Emily locks her front door and walks to her car. The morning air feels crisp against her skin. Clear, full of possibility. Today, she'll do her work. Help her clients. Solve their problems with the same care she brings to everything. But tonight, when she comes home to this small house with its creaking floors and familiar sounds, she'll ask herself the question again. What would happen if Emily Logan stopped being invisible? The black SUV pulls up outside Emily's office building at exactly 2 o'clock. Through her second-floor window, she watches a man in a dark coat step onto the sidewalk. Richard Hale moves with the careful precision of someone accustomed to being watched. He straightens his tie, checks his phone, surveys the modest brick building that houses Logan Consulting Services. Emily's office occupies the corner unit. Clean windows, simple signage, no reception area, just a waiting space with 2 chairs and a coffee table stocked with business magazines. Her credentials hang in basic black frames. Accounting certification, business license, the testimonials she's collected over years of careful work. The intercom buzzes. Ms. Logan? Richard Hale to see you. Emily presses the button. Come up. She hears his footsteps on the stairs. Measured, confident, not the hurried pace of someone seeking help. Something else. He knocks twice on her door. Mr. Hale. Emily opens the door wide. Please come in. Richard steps into her office and stops. His eyes move across the space. The simple desk. The filing cabinets. The window that overlooks downtown Denver. Emily Logan, he says slowly. Testing the name. I should have remembered sooner. Emily gestures toward the chair across from her desk. Please sit. Richard settles into the chair but doesn't lean back. His leather portfolio remains closed on his lap. Last night at the party, he begins. When your brother introduced you. The way you stood there. The way you absorbed that moment. Emily's hands rest flat on her desk. It wasn't the first time. I imagine not. Richard studies her face. But something about your composure. Your name. It stayed with me. He opens the portfolio with deliberate care. Inside, aged documents wait in protective sleeves. 15 years ago, my company faced bankruptcy. Logistics nightmare. Federal violations. Penalty exposure in the millions. Emily's breath catches. Hail transportation. You remember. She remembers everything. The desperate phone call from Richard's then partner. The boxes of disorganized records. The sleepless nights sorting through invoices and contracts. Richard slides a document across her desk. Emily recognizes her own formatting immediately. Her careful language. Her problem-solving approach. Emergency compliance review, she reads aloud. Prepared by Emily Logan, CPA. You charged us nothing, Richard says. Absolutely nothing. Said we could pay when we recovered. Emily's fingers trace the edge of the old report. You were about to lose everything. I couldn't add to that burden. We never recovered enough to pay you properly. By the time we stabilized, you'd disappeared. No forwarding address. No contact information. The truth sits heavy between them. Emily had moved twice that year. Once to escape a landlord who wouldn't fix the heat. Once to find cheaper rent after her father's medical bills consumed her savings. I wasn't running a business then, she says quietly. Just helping when I could. Richard pulls out another document. Then another. Each one bears Emily's careful analysis. Her recommendations. Her solutions to problems that should have destroyed his company. These reports saved everything I'd built, Richard says. My employees kept their jobs. My family kept their home. Because of your work. Emily looks at the papers spread across her desk. Evidence of a time she'd almost forgotten. When helping others felt simpler. When she believed good work would eventually find its reward. I did what needed doing, she says. You did more than that. Richard closes the portfolio. You changed my life. The office grows quiet. Outside, Denver traffic hums its steady rhythm. Inside, two people sit with the weight of old kindness finally acknowledged. Why are you here, Mr. Hale? Emily asks. Because last night, watching you stand there while your family dismissed you, I remembered something important. Richard's voice grows firm. I remembered that the best people often stand in the shadows. He reaches into his coat pocket. Withdraws a business envelope. Hale Transportation became Hale Logistics 5 years ago. We handle supply chain management for companies across the mountain region. Last year, we grossed $42 million. Emily's eyes widen slightly. That's impressive. It started with your work. Your foundation. Richard places the envelope on her desk. I have a proposition for you. Emily doesn't touch the envelope immediately. What kind of proposition? We need a compliance director. Someone who understands complex regulations. Someone who can prevent the kind of crisis you once helped us survive. The room seems to hold its breath. Emily stares at the envelope. 6-month contract initially, Richard continues. $250,000. Full authority over compliance protocols. Complete independence in your decisions. Emily's mortgage payment flashes through her mind. The utility bills waiting at home. The social security projections that fall short of security. Why me? She asks. Because 15 years ago, you had every reason to walk away from our mess. You stayed. You worked. You asked for nothing. Richard's expression softens slightly. Because last night, I watched your family treat you like a burden. But I know better. Emily picks up the envelope. The paper feels substantial. Real. The return address reads Hale Logistics, Corporate Offices. What would this job involve? Regulatory review. Process improvement. Staff training. Building systems that protect the company and its employees. Richard pauses. Exactly what you did for us 15 years ago. Except this time, you'd be properly compensated. Emily thinks about her small consulting practice. The modest clients with simple problems. The careful budget that barely covers her needs. Then she thinks about Ryan's party. About standing silent while her family celebrated her irrelevance. I'll need to review the contract terms, she says. Of course. Take your time. Richard stands. But Emily? Yes? Don't let them make you invisible anymore. The world needs what you do. He leaves his business card on her desk. Walks to the door with the same measured steps that brought him up. I'll be in touch, Emily calls after him. Richard pauses at the door. I hope so. This time, I want to pay what I owe. After he leaves, Emily sits alone with the envelope and the old reports. Evidence of work she'd forgotten. Kindness that traveled through 15 years to find her again. She opens the envelope carefully. Inside, a formal contract. Terms and conditions written in clear language. Compensation that could change everything. Emily Logan, Compliance Director. The title looks strange on the letterhead. Important. Valued. She thinks about the Medicare card in her wallet. The Social Security projections. The mortgage payments that stretch her budget thin. But mostly, she thinks about Richard Hale's words. Don't let them make you invisible anymore. Emily reaches for her phone. Scrolls to Richard's number. Begins typing a text. Then stops. Deletes the message. Sets the phone aside. Some decisions require more than quick responses. Some opportunities demand careful thought. But for the first time in years, Emily Logan allows herself to imagine a different future. One where her competence is recognized. Where her value is acknowledged. Where standing in the shadows becomes a choice instead of an expectation. The afternoon sun streams through her office window. The old reports catch the light. 15 years of forgotten kindness, finally remembered. Emily folds the contract carefully. Places it in her desk drawer. Next to her business license. Next to the testimonials that prove her worth. Tomorrow, she'll call Richard Hale. They'll discuss details. Negotiate terms. Begin something new. But today, Emily Logan sits in her small office and remembers what it feels like to be seen. Richard Hale returns to Emily's office 3 days later. This time, he carries 2 portfolios and wears the expression of a man bearing difficult news. Emily notices the change immediately. The careful confidence has been replaced by something heavier. More serious. Ms. Logan, he says as he settles into the chair. We need to discuss something beyond the compliance position. Emily's hands rest on her desk. What's wrong? Richard opens the first portfolio. Inside, printed emails and expense reports form neat stacks. Internal audit, he says simply. Routine review that uncovered some irregularities. He slides the first document across her desk. Emily recognizes the company letterhead. Hale Logistics. Internal correspondence. Your brother submitted these expense reports over the past 18 months, Richard explains. Emily scans the papers. Business development trips. Client entertainment. Professional development seminars. The amounts make her stomach tighten. $4,200 for a weekend in Las Vegas. Listed as client meetings. $2,800 for dinners at expensive restaurants. Team building exercises. $3,500 for a conference in Miami. Leadership training. This conference, Emily points to the Miami entry. Ryan was at your engagement party that weekend. Exactly. Richard's voice remains neutral. Professional. The timeline doesn't match his submitted reports. More documents follow, each one revealing another inconsistency. Another expense that doesn't align with reality. Emily's accounting background kicks in automatically. She sees the patterns, the systematic inflation, the personal expenses disguised as business needs. How much total? She asks. $47,000 over 18 months. The number sits between them like a stone. Emily thinks about her own careful budgeting. The utility bills she splits into payment plans. The mortgage that stretches her resources thin. Richard opens the second portfolio. But that's not the worst part. Inside, printouts of project reports and performance reviews. Emily's throat tightens as she recognizes the formatting. The language patterns. Work she's seen before. These reports were submitted by your brother as his original analysis, Richard says quietly. Emily reads the first page. Then the second. The work belongs to Julia Martinez, a junior analyst. Emily has seen Julia's careful research style in other companies. Ryan took credit for someone else's work? Multiple times. Julia's been with us for 6 months. Brilliant analyst. But her work kept appearing under Ryan's name in executive presentations. Emily's hands tremble slightly as she turns the pages. Each report represents hours of careful research. Complex analysis. The kind of detailed work that builds careers. Julia filed a complaint 2 weeks ago, Richard continues. She felt her contributions were being ignored. When we investigated, we found this pattern. The evidence spreads across Emily's desk like an accusation. Forged receipts. Stolen work. A systematic pattern of deception that makes Emily's chest tighten with shame. Why are you showing me this? She asks. Because yesterday, we found something else. Richard reaches into his briefcase. Withdraws a manila envelope marked confidential. Inside, email printouts. Emily recognizes her own email address immediately. Except the details are wrong. Emily, Logan Denver Logistics. She reads aloud. That's not your email address, Richard says. No, mine is Emily, Logan Consulting. Richard points to the subtle difference. Someone created an account designed to look like yours. Been using it to send internal company communications. Emily stares at the fake emails. Messages that appear to come from her. Recommendations for Ryan's projects. Endorsements of his work. Character references that paint him as a reliable family man. I never sent these, she whispers. We know. The metadata doesn't match. The IP address is traced to Ryan's personal computer. The betrayal hits her like a physical blow. Her own brother, using her name, her reputation, her professional standing to cover his fraud. He forged emails from me to protect himself? And to implicate you if the scheme collapsed. Richard's expression grows grave. If we hadn't investigated thoroughly, if we'd only seen the surface evidence, you could have appeared complicit. Emily's breathing grows shallow. She thinks about her small consulting practice. Her carefully built reputation. Her client testimonials earned through years of honest work. All of it could have been destroyed by Ryan's desperation. What happens now? She asks. To Ryan? Immediate termination. Full financial recovery. Criminal referral to the district attorney. Emily's hands shake as she gathers the documents. And to me? Nothing. You're completely clear. Richard pauses. But I need to ask. Did you have any knowledge of his activities? None. Emily's voice comes out stronger than she feels. I paid for his engagement party. That's the only financial involvement we've had. Richard nods. I believe you. The evidence supports your innocence completely. Emily stares at the forged emails bearing her name. When will this become public? The termination happens Monday. Legal proceedings will take months. But Emily? Richard leans forward. This doesn't change my offer. If anything, it reinforces why we need someone with your integrity. The compliance position. The contract sitting in her desk drawer. A future that seemed possible 3 days ago. Now everything feels complicated, tainted by family betrayal and legal consequences. I need time to think, Emily says. Of course. But don't let Ryan's choices dictate your decisions. Richard begins collecting the documents. You built your reputation through honest work. Don't abandon opportunities because of his failures. Emily watches him pack away the evidence. Proof of her brother's systematic dishonesty. Documentation of his willingness to destroy her reputation to save himself. Will Julia get the recognition she deserves? Emily asks. Promotion. Salary increase. Full credit for her work going forward. Richard smiles grimly. Good people shouldn't suffer because of someone else's greed. After Richard leaves, Emily sits alone in her office. The silence feels different now. Heavier. Full of implications she's still processing. Her phone buzzes with a text message. Ryan's name appears on the screen. Coffee later? Need to talk about something important. Emily stares at the message. In a few days, Ryan will know about the audit. About the investigation. About the legal consequences heading his way. But right now, he still believes his deception remains hidden. Still thinks he can manipulate situations to his advantage. Emily deletes the message without responding. Some conversations happen on their own timeline. Outside her window, Denver continues its daily rhythm. People going about their honest work. Building careers through competence and integrity. Emily Logan has always been one of those people. Tomorrow, she'll decide whether to remain in the shadows or step into the light. But today, she sits with the truth about family loyalty. About the difference between love and enabling. About the moment when protecting someone becomes impossible. Some betrayals cut too deep to ignore. Some patterns of behavior reveal who people truly are. Emily reaches for her phone. Scrolls to Richard Hale's number. Begins typing. Mr. Hale, I accept your offer. When do we start? She sends the message before she can change her mind. Before doubt can creep back in. Before family obligation can convince her to disappear again. For the first time in her adult life, Emily Logan chooses her own future over her family's comfort. The choice feels terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Emily's phone rings at 6:30 in the morning. Ryan's name flashes on the screen. She lets it go to voicemail. It rings again at 7:15. Then 8:45. Then 10:20. By noon, she has 6 missed calls and 12 text messages. Each one more desperate than the last. We need to talk. Call me back. Something big is happening at work. Family emergency. Please answer. This affects both of us. Emily sits in her office, watching the messages accumulate. Through her window, Denver spreads out under a clear autumn sky. Normal people living normal lives. No one calling their sister for crisis management. The phone rings again. This time, she answers. Hello, Ryan. Finally. His voice sounds strained, exhausted. We need to meet. Right now. I'm working. This can't wait. Please. 1 hour. The coffee shop on 16th Street. Emily checks her calendar. Client calls. Administrative work. The daily rhythm of running her own business. I'm busy today. Emily. Ryan's voice cracks. My job is in danger. They're asking questions about expenses. About projects. I think someone's trying to sabotage me. The irony hits her like a slap. Ryan calling her for help while forged emails bearing her name sit in corporate files. What kind of questions, she asks. Receipts. Travel records. Stuff from months ago. I can't remember every detail. He pauses. I told them you helped me organize my records. That you could vouch for everything. Emily's grip tightens on the phone. You told them what? That you do my bookkeeping. Family arrangement. They want to interview you. The betrayal crystallizes into something cold and hard in Emily's chest. Not content with forging her emails, Ryan now wants to drag her into active deception. I've never done your bookkeeping, Ryan. But you could say you did. Just this once. To help me out. Emily stares at her business license on the wall. Her accounting certification. The testimonials from clients who trust her integrity. You want me to lie to your employer. It's not lying. It's family. We stick together. No. The word comes out sharper than Emily intended. Final. Non-negotiable. Ryan's silence stretches for 10 seconds. Then 20. What do you mean, no? I mean I won't lie for you. I won't pretend to have done work I didn't do. I won't risk my license and my reputation to cover for your mistakes. My mistakes? Ryan's voice rises. I've been working 70-hour weeks. Trying to build something. Trying to succeed. Sometimes the details get confused. Emily thinks about Julia Martinez. About the stolen reports. About the forged emails designed to implicate her if everything collapsed. This isn't about confused details. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The expectations. The competition. Emily's anger builds slowly, steadily, like water reaching boil. I understand pressure. I understand expectations. But I don't steal other people's work to meet them. Another silence. This one charged with recognition. What do you know? Ryan asks quietly. Enough. Emily, whatever you think you know, there are 2 sides to every story. Are there 2 sides to forging emails with my name on them? Ryan's sharp intake of breath tells her everything. The truth sits between them now. Exposed. Undeniable. I can explain that. Can you explain why you created accounts designed to make me look complicit in your fraud? It wasn't like that. I was protecting both of us. If things went bad, I wanted to show we worked together. That you supported my decisions. Emily stands up from her desk. Walks to the window. Looks out at the city where honest people do honest work. You wanted to make me your scapegoat. No. I wanted to make us a team. By forging my signature. By using my professional reputation without my knowledge or consent. Ryan's voice grows desperate. Emily, they're going to destroy me. Everything I've built. Everything I've worked for. What you built was stolen work. What you worked for was covered with lies. Please, just this once. Help me explain things. Help me fix this. Emily thinks about her small house. Her modest practice. Her careful life built on integrity and independence. She thinks about Ryan's engagement party. About standing silent while her family celebrated her irrelevance. She thinks about Richard Hale's offer. About the choice between shadows and light. No, she says again. We're family. Family doesn't forge each other's signatures. Family doesn't steal credit for other people's work. Family doesn't throw each other under the bus when their schemes collapse. Ryan's breathing sounds ragged through the phone. If you don't help me, I'll lose everything. You lost everything when you chose to cheat instead of working honestly. Emily hangs up before Ryan can respond. Sets the phone face down on her desk. The office grows quiet again. Outside, life continues its steady rhythm. People building careers through competence and character. Emily Logan has always been one of those people. Today, she chooses to remain one. Her phone buzzes with another text message. She glances at the screen without picking it up. You'll regret this. Emily deletes the message, blocks Ryan's number, returns to her client files and her honest work. Some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. Some betrayals reveal character too clearly to ignore. Emily Logan is choosing her own integrity over her family's expectations. For the first time in her life, the choice feels not just right, but necessary. Emily sits in her car outside Hale Logistics headquarters. Through the tinted glass windows of the modern building, she can see people moving through cubicles and conference rooms. Normal Tuesday morning. Regular business day. Except today isn't regular for everyone inside. Richard Hale's text message arrived at 8:30, "It's happening today. Thought you'd want to know." Emily checks the time. 9:45. Ryan's termination meeting started 15 minutes ago. She doesn't need to be here. Has no business witnessing her brother's professional destruction. But something pulls her to stay. To see the end of patterns that have shaped her family for decades. A security guard exits the building's main entrance. He waits beside a company sedan. Ready. At 9:58, the glass doors open again. Ryan emerges, flanked by two people Emily doesn't recognize. HR representatives, most likely. His face looks pale, confused, like someone who expected different news. He carries a small cardboard box. Personal items from his desk. Coffee mug, picture frame, the remnants of a career that lasted exactly 18 months. Emily watches from across the parking lot as the security guard approaches Ryan. Brief conversation. Professional but firm. The guard escorts Ryan to his car. Waits until he drives away. Standard termination protocol. No drama. No public scene. Just the quiet end of systematic deception. Emily's phone buzzes. Richard Hale calling. "Hello. It's done." Richard's voice sounds tired. "Clean termination. Security escort. Legal will handle the financial recovery separately." How did he take it? Denial. Then anger. Claims he was set up. Insists someone manipulated the evidence. Emily thinks about the forged emails. The stolen work. The expense reports that painted Vegas weekends as business development. Did he mention me? He suggested you might have access to his computer. That someone could have used your technical skills to frame him. The accusation hits Emily like ice water. Even facing termination, Ryan tries to implicate her. Tries to drag her down with him. What did you tell them? The truth. That you discovered the irregularities because of your professional expertise. That you've been completely cooperative with our investigation. Emily's grip tightens on the phone. And Julia Martinez? Promoted to senior analyst. Salary increase. Full recognition for her work going forward. Richard pauses. She's the kind of employee we should have been protecting all along. A second car pulls into the parking lot. Emily recognizes the silver sedan immediately. Her parents' car. They must have received Ryan's emergency call. Her mother emerges first, then her father, both moving with the uncertain steps of people entering unfamiliar territory. They disappear through the glass doors, heading to an office where their son no longer works, where the careful image they've maintained no longer applies. Emily? Richard's voice pulls her attention back to the phone. I'm here. There's something else. During the investigation, we found additional irregularities. Expense reports that go back further than Ryan's employment with us. Emily's stomach tightens. What kind of irregularities? Previous employers. Similar patterns. It appears this behavior predates his time at Hale Logistics. The news doesn't shock Emily as much as it should. The systematic nature of Ryan's deception. The willingness to forge her signature. The instant blame deflection when caught. Patterns that develop over time. How far back? At least 5 years. We contacted 2 previous companies. Similar complaints. Expense fraud. Credit theft. Both cases settled quietly. No criminal prosecution. Emily thinks about her family's confusion over Ryan's success. His rapid promotions. His expensive lifestyle on a mid-level salary. Questions no one asked because the answers felt uncomfortable. Why wasn't this discovered during background checks? Settlement agreements included non-disclosure clauses, clean employment verification, references that focus on skills rather than conduct. The system that should protect employers failed. Good recommendations that omitted crucial information. Legal settlements that allowed patterns to continue. What happens now? Criminal referral. Financial recovery. Full disclosure to industry contacts. Richard's voice grows firm. This pattern stops here. Emily watches her parents exit the building. Their faces look strained, confused. The kind of expression that comes with learning uncomfortable truths about someone you thought you knew. They get into their car without speaking. Drive away in separate silence. Richard? Yes? Thank you for investigating thoroughly. For not taking the easy path. Professional integrity matters. Yours demonstrated that to us 15 years ago. After the call ends, Emily sits in her car for another 10 minutes. Processing the end of her brother's career. The exposure of patterns that stretched back years. Her phone chimes with a text message. Unknown number. This is your fault. You destroyed everything. Emily stares at the message. Ryan, using someone else's phone. Still blaming her for consequences he created. She deletes the message without responding. Some conversations have already ended. Emily drives home through Denver streets. Past office buildings where people work honestly. Past houses where families gather without deception. At home, she makes tea. Sits at her kitchen table. Thinks about choices and consequences. Her laptop displays an email from Richard Hale. Contract details for her new position. Start date, salary, benefits, professional recognition for competence and character. Emily signs the electronic contract. Uploads it to secure servers. Commits to a future built on her own merit. Outside her window, autumn sunlight filters through changing leaves. The world continues its steady rhythm. Inside, Emily Logan prepares for a new chapter. One where her visibility comes from her own choices. Where her value gets recognized by people who understand integrity. Some endings create space for better beginnings. Some destructions clear ground for honest construction. Today, Emily Logan stops managing other people's consequences. Starts building her own future. The choice feels long overdue. 3 weeks after Ryan's termination, Emily's Aunt Claire calls with an invitation disguised as a command. Family dinner. This Sunday, 5 o'clock. We need to clear the air. Emily almost declines. Sunday dinners at Aunt Claire's usually meant careful conversations and avoided subjects. Polite fiction that preserved family harmony at the cost of truth. But something in Claire's tone suggests this dinner will be different. Sunday afternoon arrives gray and cold. Emily drives across Denver to the modest ranch house where family gatherings have happened for 20 years. Claire's home smells like pot roast and furniture polish. Familiar scents that usually bring comfort. Today, they feel like preparation for surgery. Emily's parents sit at the dining room table. Her father studies his hands. Her mother adjusts the napkin holder repeatedly. Neither looks up when Emily enters. Ryan hasn't arrived yet. His chair sits empty, place setting arranged with Claire's usual precision. He's not coming, Claire announces from the kitchen doorway. Finally got that much truth out of him. Emily takes her usual seat. Second chair from the left. Next to the window that overlooks Claire's carefully maintained garden. Claire emerges from the kitchen carrying a manila folder. She sets it beside her plate with deliberate care. Before we eat, she says, settling into her chair. We're going to talk about things this family has ignored for too long. Emily's father clears his throat. Claire, maybe we shouldn't. Shouldn't what? Tell the truth? Address the lies? Claire's voice remains calm but firm. Harold, your son lost his job for stealing. Your daughter paid for his engagement party with money she couldn't afford to lose. We're past the point of polite silence. The words hit the table like stones. Direct. Undeniable. Emily's mother speaks without looking up. Ryan said there were misunderstandings. Mistakes in the paperwork. Ryan said a lot of things. Claire opens the folder. Most of them lies. Inside the folder, bank statements. Cancelled checks. Receipts carefully organized in plastic sleeves. Emily recognizes her own handwriting on many of the payment stubs. $23,000, Claire says, pulling out a calculator tape. That's what Emily spent on Ryan's engagement party. Money from her savings account. Money from her business credit line. Emily's parents look at the evidence with expressions of people seeing documentation for facts they suspected but never confirmed. Emily. Her mother's voice sounds small. You didn't tell us you were struggling financially. You didn't ask. Emily's response comes out softer than she intended. Not angry, just factual. Claire spreads more documents across the table. Phone bills, medical payments, insurance premiums. 2 years ago, when your mother needed emergency dental work. Who paid the $1,600? Silence. When your father's prescription wasn't covered by Medicare. Who made up the difference? More silence. When Ryan's car got repossessed and he needed reliable transportation for job interviews. Who co-signed the loan that you're still paying? Emily stares at the paper trail of quiet sacrifice. Payments she made without complaint. Help she offered without expectation of recognition or repayment. Her father finally speaks. We didn't know about all this. You didn't want to know. Claire's tone remains steady, educational rather than accusatory. Easier to let Emily handle problems quietly than acknowledge what the help cost her. Emily's mother reaches for one of the bank statements. Studies the declining balance, the overdraft fees, the careful juggling of payments that kept Emily's bills current while she supported everyone else. I thought you were doing well, she whispers. Your business, your independence. I am doing well, but not because money came easily. Claire pulls out the final document. The contract from Hale Logistics. Emily's new position. The salary that will finally provide real security. Last month, Emily signed a contract for $250,000 annually. Corporate Compliance Director. They hired her because of work she did 15 years ago. Work that saved their company from bankruptcy. Emily's parents stare at the contract. At proof of competence they never recognized. Value they never acknowledged. 15 years? Her father asks. She never mentioned it, Claire continues. Never used it to make you feel guilty for needing help. Never threw it in Ryan's face when he introduced her as the family failure. The engagement party. The public humiliation. The moment that started Emily's decision to stop being invisible. We were proud of Ryan's success, Emily's mother says weakly. We didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't look. Claire's voice grows softer but more pointed. Emily built a career through competence and integrity. Ryan built a facade through deception and theft. But you celebrated Ryan's fake success while taking Emily's real work for granted. Emily watches her parents process information they should have seen years ago. Patterns of behavior they enabled through willful blindness. What can we do? Her father asks. Claire looks at Emily. That's not my question to answer. The room grows quiet except for the tick of the grandfather clock in the corner. Emily thinks about forgiveness and boundaries. About love and enabling. About the difference between family loyalty and personal destruction. I don't want dramatic apologies, she says finally. I don't need public recognition. But I need you to see me clearly. Not as the person who fixes problems quietly. Not as the backup plan when everything else fails. Just as Emily. Her mother nods slowly. We can do that. And I need you to stop making excuses for Ryan. Stop enabling his choices. Stop expecting me to clean up his consequences. Her father's jaw tightens slightly. Old habits resist change. He's still our son. He's still my brother. But I won't sacrifice my integrity to protect him from his own decisions. Claire begins gathering the documents. That sounds like a reasonable boundary to me. Emily's phone buzzes with a text message. Richard Hale confirming her start date. Welcoming her to the team. Looking forward to working with someone of her caliber. She shows the message to her parents. Evidence of a future built on honest achievement. We're proud of you, her mother says. Thank you, but I'd prefer your respect over your pride. The distinction matters. Pride feels conditional. Respect requires understanding. Claire serves dinner. Pot roast and vegetables. Familiar food shared with new honesty. The conversation stays careful but real. No one mentions Ryan directly. No one makes promises about changed behavior. But something has shifted. The family dynamic that relied on Emily's invisible labor can't continue unchanged. Truth, once spoken, creates new requirements for everyone. Emily drives home through Denver streets. Past houses where families navigate their own complex relationships. Their own patterns of love and dysfunction. At home, she sits in her kitchen and thinks about the conversation. about boundaries and expectations, about the difference between helping someone and enabling their destructive choices. Her contract with Hale Logistics starts tomorrow. A new phase of professional life. Visible competence, acknowledged value, recognition earned through honest work. Emily Logan is stepping out of the shadows by her own choice. On her own terms, with her own integrity intact. Some family relationships require renegotiation. Some patterns of behavior need conscious interruption. Tonight, Emily Logan sleeps as someone whose value has been acknowledged, whose boundaries have been stated clearly, whose future belongs to her. The sleep comes easily. The dreams are peaceful. 6 months later, Emily unlocks the door to her new office at Hale Logistics. Corner location. 2 windows. A view of downtown Denver that stretches toward the mountains. The nameplate beside her door reads, Emily Logan, Director of Compliance. Printed in clear, professional letters. No qualifications, no explanations, just recognition of competence and authority. Her desk phone shows 14 voicemail messages. Department heads seeking guidance, vendors requesting clarification, problems that require her specific expertise to solve. Emily settles into her chair and begins returning calls. Each conversation demonstrates the respect she's earned. Colleagues who value her judgment. Decisions that carry weight because people trust her competence. At lunch, she meets Julia Martinez in the company cafeteria. The young analyst who suffered under Ryan's credit theft now leads her own projects. Confident, recognized, building a career on honest achievement. How's the transition going? Julia asks, settling at Emily's table. Better than expected. People here actually want honest feedback. Different from family dynamics? Emily smiles. Completely different. Julia updates Emily on her current projects. Complex analysis. Innovative solutions. The kind of work that builds professional reputations through merit rather than manipulation. I almost quit, Julia admits. Before the investigation, I thought maybe I wasn't good enough. Wasn't smart enough. Watching my work appear under someone else's name made me question everything. Your work spoke for itself. That's why the truth came out. Your work spoke too, 15 years ago and today. Emily thinks about cycles of recognition. How competence, given enough time, finds its appropriate acknowledgement. After lunch, Emily reviews compliance reports from 3 regional offices. Detailed analysis that prevents the kind of crisis she once helped Richard's company survive. Her recommendations carry immediate implementation. Department managers adjust procedures based on her guidance. Systems improve because someone with authority and expertise designs better protocols. At 5:30, Emily's personal phone buzzes. A text from her mother. Proud of the newspaper article. You deserve the recognition. The article appeared in the Denver Business Journal. Profile of Emily's career transition. Her work at Hale Logistics. The compliance systems she's building to protect both companies and employees. No mention of Ryan. No reference to family dynamics. Just professional achievement presented on its own merits. Emily drives home through familiar Denver neighborhoods. Past the coffee shop where Ryan once demanded her help with his deception. Past the office building where she spent years solving other people's problems for modest compensation. Her house looks the same from the outside. Modest ranch. Well-maintained yard. Nothing flashy or dramatic. Inside, changes reveal themselves gradually. New appliances that work efficiently. Utilities paid in full without careful planning. A security that comes from adequate income rather than careful budgeting. Emily makes dinner in her updated kitchen. Salmon and vegetables. Simple food prepared without checking bank balances or calculating grocery budgets. She eats at her kitchen table while reviewing a technical manual. Professional development. Learning new regulations that affect her industry. Her phone remains silent except for work-related messages. No midnight crisis calls. No family emergencies that require immediate financial solutions. The quiet feels intentional rather than lonely. Peaceful rather than abandoned. At 8 o'clock, Emily's doorbell rings. She opens the door to find a delivery driver holding a large floral arrangement. Emily Logan? Yes. The flowers are beautiful. Professional but warm. The card reads, "Thank you for making us better." The Hale Logistics team. Emily places the arrangement on her dining room table. Evidence of appreciation from colleagues who value her contributions. Recognition that comes from performance rather than family obligation. She thinks about Ryan occasionally, wonders about his new circumstances, hopes he eventually learns the difference between success and the appearance of success. But she doesn't reach out, doesn't offer help with consequences he created, maintains boundaries that protect her integrity while allowing him space to build something honest. Some relationships require distance to remain healthy. Some love requires limits to avoid enabling destruction. Emily's parents call every Sunday now. Brief conversations, respectful questions about her work, genuine interest in her achievements. The dynamic has changed because the truth changed everything. Acknowledgement of her value creates different expectations for everyone. At 10 o'clock, Emily prepares for bed, reviews her calendar for tomorrow. Meetings with department heads, training sessions for junior staff, strategic planning for corporate expansion, work that matters, colleagues who respect her expertise, problems that challenge her abilities without requiring personal sacrifice. Emily Logan built this life through consistent integrity, through choosing competence over convenience, through refusing to make herself invisible for other people's comfort. The choice required courage, demanded boundaries, created temporary discomfort that led to permanent improvement. Now, lying in her comfortable bedroom in her secure home with her respected career, Emily Logan understands something fundamental about worth. Value doesn't require other people's recognition to exist. But when recognition comes from honest achievement, it creates foundations for building even better futures. Tomorrow, Emily will continue work that protects people and companies from preventable crises. She'll use expertise earned through years of careful study and honest application. She'll remain visible through choice rather than circumstance, valued for competence rather than convenience, respected for character rather than compliance. Life doesn't end just because it breaks once. What falls apart can be the very place where we learn to stand again. If this story gave even a small moment of strength to someone out there, then everything I went through means something today. Sometimes the most important person to save is yourself. Sometimes stepping out of the shadows means other people must learn to solve their own problems. Sometimes integrity costs everything you thought you wanted, then gives you everything you actually needed. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe, and share a piece of your own story in the comments below. Your words might become the seed of the next chapter we create together. Thank you for spending this time